All right. Welcome to the Spoiler Kings. My name is Tim Kramer. I'm with Pippa MD. Will, what is up?
What's up?
All right. So yeah, man, we are doing this is part of our double feature if you're watching live. If you're watching on replay, we just talked about another movie, but this one, the second one, we're gonna talk about Being the Ricardos over on Amazon Video, streaming there now. It's been there for I want to say a little while now. A week or so?
Yeah.
Really?
December 21st. So right before Christmas. So yeah, man, you just want to get right into it and watch the trailer?
Yeah. Let's check it out.
Yeah. Cool. Here goes the trailer.
So, if you don't know, I Love Lucy, which is a household name of a TV show from back. Oh my God, I can't even think how far back. What, 50s or something? 60s?
Yeah.
It's very, very dated show. It follows the life of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in a fictional way, but it kind of ties into the actual personalities. And that was the show I Love Lucy. This movie that we're reviewing today, Being the Ricardos, it's kind of like a biopic. So in 1952, Hollywood power couple Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz faced personal and professional obstacles that threatened their careers, their relationship, and their hit television show. So they were making top ratings on CBS at the time, which was super huge. If you had a TV, you were watching I Love Lucy, and if you were watching it in black and white, which is the reason why I turned down my saturation. This was a super funny show back in the day, if you did watch it, and it featured a female lead, or co-lead, if you will, that was doing comedy, which was unheard of back then, because of how sexist men were back in the days. Still are, but we're working on it. But yeah, very interesting movie. It kind of jumped back and forth. I was mentioning earlier, it kind of had biopic type vibes, but then also had a documentary type feel to it, and it was just following the story of the drama that went on behind the scenes. Wasn't so much about the actual television show. Like, they mentioned a few times where they were talking about scene setup and things like that, but it was just it was a real simple movie about being in the limelight as a power couple and having real world issues with drama and having an affair and those type of issues. Not that there was an affair. We're not spoiling it just yet. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, for the most part, the movie was in black and white. I mean, I'm sorry, it was in color. I'm glad they didn't do black and white and try to do too much of that. Right? They didn't have black and white.
They did have some black and white whenever they showed what it was on TV, quote unquote. So any of the actual I Love Lucy parts, it was in black and white. But I mean, besides that, the rest of the movie was in color. But yeah, that's
something that's important to kind of just point out, because back then when the show was out, it was only in black and white. So I kind of like to point that out to see if they were gonna,
well,
kind of comment on that. Yeah, I know, right? Takes me back.
How it looked.
Takes me back. But yeah, what were kind of some of the things that you liked most in the movie?
Definitely the cast. I thought they were. I mean, obviously Nicole Kidman as Lucille Ball was. I thought she was really good. I thought she was really good. Lucy, especially Lucy on TV, Lucy had a very unique kind of voice. She did a good job. I personally never heard Lucille Ball talk outside of not being on TV, in her interviews and stuff like that. So I don't have a good comparison of her normal voice to how Nicole Kidman did, but it wasn't too bad. And then obviously Javier Bardem, it was Desi Arnaz, which was her husband, on the show and in real life. And he wasn't too bad. I mean, he is Spanish, from Spain, playing a Cuban guy. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but Nicole Kidman, you're able to make her at least kind of look like Lucille Ball. At points I'm like, wow, that's really good. Javier Bardem look like him. Like he didn't look like at all like Desi at
Yeah,
all. I
not at
mean,
all.
they gave him the clothes with the suspenders and stuff like that. But J.K. Simmons was a really good. Was that Fred? I believe
Fred, yeah, he
was
did do
really
well.
good. Fred. And then Nina was there Ariande was was a Vivian as Ethel. She wasn't too bad. But yeah, definitely Nicole Kidman was like they obviously tried the hardest to make her look like it. But I thought the cast was really well done. I mean, great actors and actresses. So it was pretty good. Clark Gregg was in this movie. Who was it's so hard to not see and hear him besides anyone else besides um oh my god, why am I drawing a blank on his Marvel character agent um oh my god, he was on Agent of Shield. Like I it's
Oh,
just it's
Peter.
him. Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Agent
But
Phil what?
Coulson
See?
Coulson.
Colson, there you go.
Yeah, he's always like that's how I see him, and I know that sucks, and I don't know
Sorry,
what he can do to
typecast.
change that. But it's like I mean, yeah, his voice and everything is just like it's him all the time. Him, even like Nelson Franklin was in this, and he's kind of like always plays like a goofy character at times and funny and stuff. And yeah, I thought he did a well job too. But Tony Hale, was Jess, and I thought everyone did a really good job with the acting for sure, for sure. What about you, man? What are some things you liked?
I mean, the whole star of the show for me was Nicole Kidman playing as Lucille Ball. Her kind of not raspy voice, but very iconic, just out there voice. She did a good job portraying it, in my opinion. Could there have been somebody else that would have done a better job? Probably. Probably. I don't know if she's the best version of Lucille Ball that we've seen to date, or that we can still see, coming to the future. But I think she did a great job. I definitely got the vibe from her. I do agree with you with what's his name? With Javier Bardem playing Desi Arnaz. I want to say he acted the part well. He had a commanding kind of presence to him and really controlling as like a Latino, but he was Spanish anyways. But like you said,
Yeah.
he didn't look like him, but he acted the part to me enough to where I could kind of look past his bulkiness, and he was real bulky too. I feel like he could have
Oh yeah.
maybe lost weight for the role, maybe to look more like him. And maybe that's too much dedication, but it would have painted a better picture for me if he would have
Yeah.
lost a little bit of weight. I'm not body shaming. I'm not. He was just swole. He was a swole
I
dude.
think Javier's got a really like broad shoulders, kind of like that A frame. No matter what you do, like he could probably lose weight and still be a big looking dude. I think he's just has that big frame. So
maybe
but his accent.
casting.
So,
Oh, that
I
accent
don't
was
know.
wrong.
Like I know he was obviously trying to have a Cuban accent, but it's just the whole like Lucy, I'm home. Like it just didn't have that same umph,
It
that
didn't.
Desi had. I don't know.
And if I'm not mistaken, actual Desi Arnaz, he kind of had at sometimes a kind of screech to his or pitch to his voice.
Yeah.
Where he'd be like, like he would kind of include that a little bit. And so when he's like yelling or like Lucy, and he would really like get that going. I didn't get that at all from Javier. I'm not mad about it, but it definitely took away from the role. Which I'm glad the movie didn't focus so much on him, but he is like the number 2 person in this movie. So you kind of have to hit the mark right, or else you don't hit it well at all.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, big time. What about some of the bad stuff, man? What's some of the stuff or some of the because we I guess it was kind of in between.
It was
like the good and bad. We kind of like hit on both a little bit.
We did. The more things that really like took me away from the movie was the fact that the movie jumped around timeline wise. It jumped around, at the beginning, at the end, and then they mentioned about having the kid. They didn't even include having the kid, or incorporating that into the story at all. And I felt like that was important
Yeah,
because they were gonna do a TV show, right? They had the TV show, and they're like, "Hey, for these next few episodes, we're gonna have Lucy be pregnant," and that was such a controversial thing to do at the time. And I get that, right? But why did they include having the kid or talk about the kid or anything like that? She ended up, going past her pregnancy, and they didn't mention the kid too much. They showed him being washed or nurtured by the dad, by Ricky,
yeah.
or I'm sorry, Desi, but I don't know. Uh, Like for them to mention him, be such an important factor of being pregnant, and then not include him was just like lackluster to me. I was like, oh,
Yeah. Well, yeah, they had a daughter. So it was a her.
was a daughter?
Yeah. It was a
Wait,
which I'll talk about her in a little bit. I think they said her.
oh, it was. I think it was
Yeah.
a daughter. But didn't they have
Yeah.
Did you ever watch I Love Lucy?
Not really. I think they had a little Ricky. I think they had a boy
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
on the show. But in real life, I think it's had a daughter. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Double check
Okay.
that though. But yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. I the same thing. I really didn't like that either. I didn't like that it was just they bounced around really weird. So it was like anytime they actually spoke to the I'm assuming those are the actual people, like in like the now times kind of thing, where they
Yeah.
made it more of a documentary. I'm assuming that was actually Jess and the writer and stuff like that. But anytime they talked to them, then it went to a flashback, but then it went right back into like the current times, which was kind of weird. So yeah, so the whole time was just like really back and forth, which I'm like, okay. And then they skipped the biggest part, where like of her being the baby or being pregnant and stuff like that. So yeah, that was kind of disappointing for sure. I was a little upset at that. I was like, why would you do that? Because yeah, I don't know. The whole thing was really, really weird. And then the whole like, is she a communist kind of thing? I didn't know if that was real. Yeah, that was like really happened, which is kind of crazy.
I don't know. Whether it did or not, it was just if you're gonna include it, you should have had her put on the stand, or you should have had like some crazy stuff to like really show like, oh my god, it's controversial. Maybe she can't be seen in public, or else people will throw stuff at her, or like show what it really was back then if you're gonna show it all. But I didn't get that. Like they mentioned like, oh, she marked a box when voting or something when she was really young, and she voted Communist Party or something like that.
Yeah, I'm reading. I guess that's real. That's real. So,
but they touched on it, and then she beat it, thanks to Desi. Spoiler alert. But I don't know, man. It was just odd to add to the story. The story was Lucy, you keep seeing throughout the movie, she has this uncertainty, right, of what's to happen next. She keeps trying to to piece together this scene that she finally gets together at the very end of the movie, and it's her trying to get her life together in some sense. She's asked very, very early on in the movie by her husband, Desi, who asked her, hey, when I'm trying to get with you, or like when I'm just meeting you, dating you, I ask you this question, what are your ambitions? And she tells him, I want to have a home. A home meaning not like, your richest mansion with all the bells and whistles. No, she wants a home in the sense that she wants to have a husband, wife, and old school traditional kid and all that and the whatnot. That's what she envisioned for her home. Not what America envisions. That's changed a long time ago. But for her, she wanted the whole traditional, family type thing that she was used to at the time, being in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so to point out things that I didn't like, I just didn't like the direction. Like I liked where they were going with the story, but overall, it just lost traction because of the jumpiness. That's for me what kind of did it. What about you? What was
Yeah. No,
anything else you want to
I'm
point
right
out?
there with you. That's the biggest one that really got me. I mean, the weird Javier Bardem being Desi was a little weird, but you can kind of see past that. But the jumpy around was kind of I don't know. I think we could have done without that, because if it was going to be a week in her life, then it should have been a week in her life, rather than, oh, here's the week of her life, but then it bounced between, like, oh, this is how they first met, and then this is what happened, and then this is what happened. It was like, I I don't know. I don't know. Because this movie was 2.5 hours, and I felt it was just a little bit too long. It could have probably been 2 hours, or was it 2.5 hours?
It was 2.5. Yeah,
Oh,
you're right.
2.5, right? Yeah. Um, yeah. So that was like the only thing I was like, it could have been. Oh no, it was 2 hours. On my bad. It was 2 hours.
Only
2 hours and
hours.
5 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Felt like
So
two and a half.
it could have been probably cut down a little bit more. I feel like movies now are all being they have to be at least 2 hours, when it doesn't need to be. Like an hour and a half, you can still tell a good story.
Right.
And I think they could have done that. They could have done that. So they should have used the cutaways to the older people, as them telling how they met, rather than a segue to a scene of how they met. It was just like unnecessary. Like you're doing the same thing twice, kind of thing, for no reason.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm right there with you, man, with that.
And the whole, what's the craziest part is the very end of this movie, we lose. I feel like as a viewer, you lose the ending, the feeling that you want to get out of a movie creator. They were trying to get every reaction out of your audience, and I think they lost trying to get that reaction. So, spoiler alert. I'm gonna get into the ending right now, but pretty much, Lucy has a suspicion, and she keeps asking Ricky throughout the whole movie, like, "Hey, where were you on this night? What were you doing? Blah blah blah. Like, this is not matching up with your story. Are you seeing other women?" And she never actually quite out says it, like, "Hey, are you seeing other women, or are you cheating on me?"
Yeah.
Um, it's such a taboo topic back then, especially around that time. A lot of women just endured being abused and being, cheated on and all that. They just stayed at home, and it was just a very terrible time for women. And I feel so sorry for them. But like, she finally at the end, because of all this jumpiness, I lost track of like her losing herself, and it made me lose focus on the actual story, which was like, hey, she's trying to get control of her life, control of her TV show, and have it a certain way, but she has obstacle after obstacle being thrown at her, and then all while having the whole purpose of having this TV show in the first place was just to get with Desi Arnaz, was just to like really like date him or keep him as a husband. That was her
Yeah, keep him
initial
as a husband.
like goal. And he even said it kind of too, like, hey, if this show doesn't pull through, then we're kind of done, which is kind of a bogus statement, he said. But yeah, so her at the very end, that's all it comes down to is, what's more important, the love or is it the show? And we find out that Ricky, or Desi Arnaz, did in fact, like, I don't know if he directly said it, but he definitely confirmed.
She found out. Yeah, she found out.
Right? But he pretty much confirmed that, yeah, that he was having an affair or like messing around with other women, and she
Oh
took
yeah,
it
he did say. Sorry.
she took it brutal. Like, she didn't react the way I think most women would have acted today, but she was like, oh, okay, well, if that's the case, then you know what? Boom, let's straight to business. Let's shoot this scene for the TV. And she was just so, she just turned robot, just turned off her feelings, and it was just like a really sad moment that you missed. It was a missed opportunity, in my opinion, on the movie's part.
No.
Where you could have caught maybe even people crying over this kind of scene, but I didn't even get that emotional. I was just like, oh damn, that's bogus.
I like that. I like that scene. At the end when he kind of saves her career, basically, by like, she's not a communist and did what he did. And then she like thanks him, and then like, as like this is super happy moment, that's when she throws it on him. She goes, "Are you cheating on me?" Flat out, flat out. And he's like, "What?" He's like, and then she, catches him in the lie and blah blah blah. And then for some reason, like he thinks like him telling her is like, "Oh, they were just hookers." I was like, that doesn't make it better. That doesn't make it better. You're like, "Oh, it meant nothing." It was like, what are you talking about? But then, like, I like the scene where she was just like he's breaking down. Like I thought that was really good with Javier. Like him like getting sad and like about to cry and just like lose it, And then she just completely flipped it. Like, "Oh, we'll talk about this later. Let's go give him a show, blah, blah, blah." And it was like, and I feel that was like, I don't know if that was real life or not, whatever. But at least for the movie, it was very like how badass Lucille Ball was like, "I'm gonna make you sit in this. Like how you feel right now, I'm gonna make you sit in it, and I'm gonna make you pretend it's not a thing, but it's you know." And I feel like that was just like a big power move, because like throughout the whole movie was who was the man, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Like, J.K. Simmons' character had like a beer with her and told her like, "Hey, he is Cuban, and being a man is different there, and blah blah blah, and like, like you're not letting him be the man, or a man." So there's all that, and stuff like that. So that part was like, for me, I liked a lot because it really wasn't sad. I mean, it was sad, don't get me wrong, but it was also like, hey, she's a badass, and she kind of like I don't know, man, making you sit with bad news and these horrible feelings for like however long, like the TV show they recorded was like an hour or whatever. That's gotta be horrible. Then you gotta fake it in front of a TV audience and this and that. I was like, oh my God, but yeah, I mean, the whole ending was very weird, so I don't know. But yeah, that was just like what I felt about it. But you want to do our ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So over here at the Nerd Huddle, us two spoiler kings rate movies a little bit differently. So we don't use the 5-star system or anything like that. We don't do Rotten Tomatoes. We don't do any of that. We do this. We either rate movies a watch now, a watch later, or a watch never. A watch now means, man, you need to drop everything and spend all your money and all your coins towards this movie because it's that good. A watch later means, you can put this on the back burner, maybe catch it when it comes out streaming, or I mean, it was already streaming, but catch it, another time because it's not priority. And then a watch never means don't even give this movie any time of day because it's that trash. With that being said, I always ask you to go first. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go first on this one.
Go for it.
I'm definitely gonna I'm definitely gonna rate this movie, being the Ricardos, a watch never. And it hurts me to even say that. Yeah, it's very powerful. Yeah, and here's my reasoning for that. So when I think of older movies, right? Movies that you see on MeTV, so Three Stooges, I Love Lucy, Laverne and Shirley, some of those older classics, you kind of don't even want to touch those because it's hard to replicate the feeling and nostalgia that you once had for those movies because it's been so long. And so it's tough. And anything that you do to try to capture that is going to be really, really, really tough. So a movie that tried to do this, but they did a way better job, was the Three Stooges movie that came out in the 2000s. I forgot what year it came out, but they brought back something and they captured the right cast to do it. And this movie, I feel like they could have picked a better Desi Arnaz. J.K. Simmons was great for Fred, but Ethel was, in my opinion, I think could have been done a lot better. And so with the casting being not favorable for me, and then also to the plot of the movie just jumping around too much timeline wise, it didn't have a good flow to it for me, and it took me out of the movie doing that. And so there was a few times where I had to literally turn my head to really focus back into the movie, and when the movie does that for me, it it just shows me that I'm not entertained. And that's the whole point of a movie
Yeah.
for me, is to be entertained or catch some kind of nostalgia factor. If it's this kind of movie, it didn't really choose a side either, whether it's biopic or whether it's documentary. It kind of jumped around both and kind of broke the fourth wall, but didn't. And it was just very poorly done, in my opinion. And so for that, I give it a watch never. They could have done so much better in a lot of areas. And yeah, what about you? What do you think? What do you rate it?
So yeah, for me, being the Ricardos is probably a watch later, but like I'll put it down like a way later. Like it's not. It's closer to never, but I would still like it's worth a good watch.
Yeah.
Especially like especially if you're like a I Love Lucy fan, you might enjoy it. But like you said, you might not. You might really leave a bad taste in your mouth, and you might just really not like it. For me, I'm not really a I Love Lucy fan. Like, I don't hate the show at all. I remember watching episodes and stuff like that, but it was just never my like thing I would like watch, and especially none of my family really watch it, so I never got it. And this, I was like, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, so I was a little interested. But like you said, I wish it was told better. The acting wasn't too bad. They could have got a real Cuban actor. I'm sure there's, I can't think of it on top of my head. I'm sure there's a real like actual Cuban actors that grew up idolizing Desi Arnaz,
Right.
Nicole Kidman wasn't the original Lucille Ball. It was supposed to be Kate Blanchett. Yeah, and then for whatever reason that didn't work out. And then Nicole Kidman took over. So there's something like that. Even Lucy's actual daughter in real life, when Kate Blanchett backed out, she was like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to make this movie anymore. Damn. And then Nicole Kidman came on, and obviously she's, huge as well. And then it's kind of brought Lucy's daughter, back. They're like, okay, you got somebody good to play my mom. So okay. I'm back in on it. But Nicole Kidman as Lucy was probably my favorite part. Everything else was kind of like, eh. So, and it was a different time. So a lot of stuff they say is kind of like not offensive, but it's also like shitty, I guess. I don't know. And it just shows like how badass Lucille Ball was in the 50s, So and that for that I'll give it a later, but I mean a way later. Yeah. So
yep.
Yeah, that's for me. And then real quick, so we got Rotten Tomatoes. So the tomato meter, this is the critics gave it a 90 or 69%, which is barely above that good line. And then the audience gave it a 74%. So audience didn't mind it too much, and I'll put it there as not a great movie, but good enough. But yeah. But this movie did come out in the box office at the beginning of December. That's what it did. It made. I didn't even have an estimate. Well, I don't know, but it did make some. I think it's estimated at 450,000.
Ooh,
that doesn't sound good. But so I don't know, but it's also it came out on Amazon like a week later or 2 weeks later or something like that, so it didn't really get a good run in the theaters before Amazon. Everyone has Amazon, so yeah. But yeah, so not one of our favorite films that we did. And it was kind of like a letdown because I was really expecting this to be a good one. Like a good one that I was like really excited about.
Same.
So, a little disappointing.
What was missing for me that would have like jumped it from a never to a later at least is if they would have done something like how they did with Rami Malek playing Freddie Mercury, is reenact a whole TV episode. I'm not talking a whole like TV episode, but maybe like one skit that Lucille Ball did in one of her shows. If they would have done that and had that really play out, they never played a full scene of I Love Lucy play in this movie. They didn't do that. If they would have done that and just gave me that little bit of nostalgia, and if they would have had, like if they would have did the vitamin to veggie or did the whole anything.
Well, they did the
whole,
grapes, but they didn't do like the whole thing. There was kind of like it was in her head kind of thing. Like, oh, she's like, oh, I see how it plays out. So it wasn't the actual scene, but it was like probably the closest thing you got to a full scene.
True. Or even at the end, I was really expecting, the whole movie, she's trying to create this perfect scene for like, the glass table, and then Ricardo comes out behind her and covers her eyes and says, guess who, and all this stuff. I was looking for that to be the ending scene that finally gets, perfected at the end, and they finally play it at the end of the movie, and it's so perfect and it's so hilarious that it gets all these laughs, and she powers through even knowing that, man, that would have been a good ending actually. No, her powering through that scene, knowing that her husband cheated on her, and then even at the end of the movie, it shows a little type thing on the screen where it says like she then divorced him like so and so many months later, and it's like damn, it was serious. Like she really valued their relationship, and she did value her career, but she did value her relationship that much more, and for that, boom, divorced his ass.
Yeah, which I think they did that. There was like, she said the day after their last TV appearance. So it was like the show ended. It was like the next day she divorced them. I was like, damn,
yeah.
So it was like, I mean, she was a badass, and I think the one thing I got out of this movie is like how much of a badass she was in the 50s. When women obviously weren't treated the same, and she like made demands, and she put herself as like, I'm the boss, like, but she still wanted to be a home, and she still wanted to have a family and stuff like that. So it was pretty good in that sense, but it could have been told better. It could have been told better, kind of a letdown.
For sure.
Yeah, man. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, one last question. I rated it a watch never, and the question that we always ask is, would you watch it again? I would not watch this again. Would you watch this again?
Nah, I wouldn't watch this again. It's not. I don't feel like I missed anything where I need to go back and rewatch it. Like, I got it the first time, and that was it. Like, yeah. So, yeah. So it is what it is. So before we get out of here, so coming down the line, we're gonna review, I believe, The Kingsman. It's coming out next week. We're gonna do that. We're gonna get back to our giveaways, which we did been a little preoccupied with the holidays, so we're gonna get back to the giveaways. Kingsman is coming out pretty soon. The Transylvania sequel is coming out, and I forgot what else is even coming out. Unfortunately, Morbius, we were going to do Morbius. That got pushed back today. It got pushed back until April. So we'll figure something out then. But yeah, so we got a few other movies coming out that we're going to definitely check out. And then on Wednesdays, me and Brian and Will, you're always welcome to jump on. We do like TV kind of reviews. So right now we're in the middle of Boba Fett just started. We're in the middle of The Witcher, so we're gonna talk some more Witcher, and then we're gonna start Cobra Kai season 4. We're gonna start breaking down those episodes or reviewing those episodes. So I'm super excited about Cobra Kai. I freaking love that show. And Book of Boba. I think that's pretty good so far. So yeah, so we got some of the movies and TV shows and stuff like that, and then hopefully we'll get some more classic reviews in as well throughout the year. Anything else, man, before we get out of here?
Nah, that's it for me.
Last words. Sounds good. Cool. Yeah, thank you for everyone coming in, hanging out. Appreciate it. If you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching on replay, make sure you hit that sub and like. and let us know what you think about being the Ricardos or any other movie that we start talking about. So make sure you come in and check us out live. But thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Deuces.